Philip is our program today, part 1. Did you know much about Philip? He didn't figure big for me, and I thank you for having this opportunity to talk with you about him because it made me look more at Philip. And one of the first challenges I realized is that we need to distinguish Philip as an apostle from Philip as one of the 7 deacons in Acts of the Apostles. And from the early church, there's actually confusion because we have some significant writers who considers him to be the same person, and also with relatively interesting reasons, but I think today's scholarship wants to see them as 2 separate, different people. So Philip the apostle and Philip the deacon, or also the evangelist he's called, and he has a house in Caesarea. And there Paul comes to visit when he's coming back on one of his trips to Jerusalem, and he stays with him for a number of days. Philip is a Greek name. It actually means somebody that loves horses. Philadelphia, somebody that loves a brother, brotherly love. Philippus, hippos, is a horse. Philippus, one who loves horses. It's a Greek name. And there are many Philips. The famous Philip of Macedonia, the father of Alexander the Great, an incredible politician and diplomat. Then we have Philip the Apostle, we have Philip the Deacon, and many other Philips throughout history. Philip the Gospel Philip, he's number 5 in the list of the Apostles. And I also ask myself, why? Well, obviously Peter is number 1. He would never be put in a different position in the list of the apostles. And then the 3 apostles that were always with Jesus are Peter, James, and John. And they're in Mount Tabor, they're at the rising of the daughter of Jairus, and so forth. Then we have Andrew, because Andrew brought Peter. And then we have Philip, and afterwards Bartholomew, and then the others. So Philip is one of the first ones. Actually, according to John's Gospel, when Jesus comes to Galilee in John chapter 1, he calls Philip, who is from Bethsaida. Right to my back over there is Bethsaida. And he's from the same town as Philip, as Peter and Andrew. And that's very interesting as well, because they're together a number of times. And when the Greeks want to come to see Jesus, they approach Philip. So he must be a very approachable guy. And we could tell that also because he went to Nathanael right away. It doesn't even say that he answered the call, but we know he answered the call because he went to Nathanael and said, "We found the one that Moses and the prophets were speaking about, Jesus of Nazareth." So he discovered Jesus. And now the Greeks come to Philip and they say, "Philip, we want to see Jesus," in John chapter 12. And Philip goes to Andrew and he says, "Andrew, let's bring these guys to Jesus." So look at Philip all the time. He's bringing people to Jesus. He's a team player. He's not a lone ranger. It's not about him. It's about Jesus. He wants them to come and see Jesus. He got it. He got who Jesus is. He knows, like John the Baptist, I need to decline. He needs to grow. Each one needs to discover Jesus. He makes such a witness to Jesus. And this is the first definition of the 12 apostles. They are witnesses to Jesus. They're the people through whom we connect to Jesus, because that's how the church is built. Then we find Jesus very close to Philip, so close that when he wants to feed the 5,000, he says, "Philip, what are we going to do? Do we have enough food for 5,000? It's very interesting that Philip is right there beside Jesus. The call of the apostles is to spend time with Jesus. That's how we get to know Jesus. That's how he has such a treasure to share with others. Philip obviously rules out the possibility they can feed the people with the few loaves and fish they have. But Philip says it would take so much money to do it. He was very realistic, and he had to learn the new way of thinking of Jesus. This is what the apostles do. The 12 discover Jesus, and they're his witnesses to the world. Come back for part 2.